Hi everyone, I hope everybody had a good break. I just wanted to go ahead and post the last lecture in this series on pathogens and defense and bacteria and viruses and all that good stuff. I hope everybody has started working on their project. The instructions for that are on my website. A few other notes. Thank you to those of you who have joined Remind. If you have not yet gotten onto Remind, those instructions are also on my website. Please, if you are on Remind, tell your friends. It's a much easier way if you guys have questions when you're working on anything from now until the end of the year. It's like a text message. It reaches me that quickly, and I'm able to get a response to you much more quickly than having your parents try to send me a dojo or even really email. So please do try to sign up for Remind. It's going to help everybody. Okay, so the last thing we're going to talk about is defense. So we talked about the structure of bacteria and viruses, and then we talked about how they cause disease. And so now we're going to really try to keep this short and talk about how the body defends itself. So one key component of maintaining homeostasis, and we've talked a lot about maintaining homeostasis throughout the year and how important that is to organisms. So one of the key components of that is protection against disease. If a disease affects the body is not going to operate the way it should. And so therefore keeping disease out and developing ways to fight disease are really important for us as an organism. All organisms have disease-fighting mechanisms, but vertebrates specifically have immune system. Now, a vertebrate is any kind of animal that has a backbone. So we as humans are vertebrates, all mammals are vertebrates, but other things like snails and slugs that do not have a backbone do not have an immune system. That's kind of a fun fact. Okay, so what's an immune system? It's a network of organs that work together to recognize, fight, and defend against foreign substances at the cellular level. So basically, it's kind of a group effort. There's a lot of organs in the body that are part of our immune system, and some of them we might not necessarily think of. For example, your skin is actually a part of your immune system. That is your first line defense against any bacteria or viruses entering your body, and we'll talk more about that in a second. Okay, so to review, pathogens, that's we're referring to an organism or a virus that can cause disease. And a key player in the defense against disease are something called antibodies. Now, antibodies are proteins used by the immune system to neutralize pathogens. And so by neutralizing a pathogen, it's sort of disarming it. It's not able to continue on its nefarious mission to make us sick. And so therefore, antibodies are really important. All right, the overall goal of your immune system is to detect and deflect pathogens, but if that does not work, it will try to destroy them. So again, your skin is considered your first line defense against pathogens. And so therefore, if you have a cut or you're for whatever other reason the pathogen is allowed to enter into your body does have some tools it uses to destroy them, to destroy pathogens. White blood cells are a key player in this. So this picture over here, this is courtesy of the CDC, and has been digitally colored. This is an electron microscope. And the yellow part, that's actually a staph infection. So that's a bacterial infection. Some of you may have chosen that for your project. And so the blue in this picture is actually white blood cells, and the white blood cells are gathering around the staph infection, and they are actually going in there and are about to destroy those bacterial cells so that they cannot reproduce and contribute to that infection. So as we speak right now, this is going on in your body, and I just think that's so cool, and it's such a cool picture. And basically that there's little microscopic wars going on inside of us all of the time, and we're just carrying about our business. Okay, so the eventual goal of eventual hope to all of this is that we are going to reach immunity. So we've heard the expression of somebody being immune to different kinds of sicknesses, or they're immune to, some people that are not affected by poison ivy. They're said, oh, they're immune from poison ivy. So immunity is when an organism's developed enough defenses to avoid an invasion from a pathogen. So basically that the body can adequately defend itself to the point where we do not get sick. We have two kinds of immunity. The first one is innate. So when something is innate, it's like naturally occurring, it's always there. So this is non-specific. Every plant and animal has this, so every organism has innate immunity. This is things like your skin, mucus. So the mucus that is in your nose is designed in part to help, it's designed to help keep the inside of your nose moist, but it's also designed to help repel pathogens. So basically anywhere that there's an opening in the body, there's typically mucous membranes, and that's to try to protect us from pathogens entering that way. White blood cells are also something that every organism has. And again, these is, as we saw in the picture, they're going to identify these pathogens and then try to fight it. The other kind of immunity is something called adaptive immunity. And so we know that when something adapts, like we talked about adaptations in evolution, we know that that means that the organism is changing to be able to best keep up with the circumstances of its environment. And so adaptive immunity is just that. It's the body is adapting to be able to fight these very specific pathogens. So adaptive immunity is specific to each pathogen. We do not have adaptive immunity to something our body has never seen before. To tying into what's going on in the world right now, coronavirus. This is a new novel virus. Nobody has seen it before. And so that's why it's such a problem, because nobody has adaptive immunity to this because it's brand new. Nobody's body has ever seen this before. Adaptive immunity is only found in vertebrates. So again, only things with a backbone have this. So everybody has innate immunity. Only vertebrates have adaptive immunity. It is acquired. In other words, you have to develop this. You are not born with this. And the way adaptive immunity works is it kind of remembers pathogens. And so basically, once you were exposed to something, it's like your body almost creates like a America's Most Wanted poster, so that it knows when it sees that pathogen again, it's going to say, okay, we've seen this before. It was a problem last time, and we're going to use the tools we used last time to get rid of it this time before it creates a problem. And this is a very like bite-size lecture on this. There's a whole lot more that we can get into in depth. If you took a higher level biology course, or certainly when you get to biology in college, you would learn more about all these different kinds of immunity and what cells are responsible. But we're just doing little tastes just so you can kind of understand what's going on. Adaptive immunity uses T cells and B cells. Again, we're going to leave that there because I don't want to get any more involved in that. But adaptive immunity. Okay, the other thing that your body has, which I think is so cool, and it has a really cool name, is natural killer cells. It sounds like something out of a true crime drama. And a natural killer cell is something that everybody has. They're defensive cells that can kill your own cells by triggering apoptosis if they see that they are infected. Apoptosis is something called programmed cell death. And so basically, this is the body's sort of protection system against things that are naturally going haywire in the body. And so one of those such things would be cancer cells. So these natural killer cells are able to identify cells in the body that don't belong or that don't look quite right, like cancer cells. And so in this picture we have here, the blue cells are those natural killer cells, and the yellow, that's actually a cancer cell. And those natural killer cells are going in to basically take over the programming of that cancer cell and tell it to destroy itself. It also does this for virus infected cells. So people that are unfortunately diagnosed with coronavirus have these natural killer cells in their body that are going around, and they are trying to destroy these virus infected cells before the viral load gets out of hand. So that's kind of just a little taste of the body's defense. In later classes, we'll talk a whole lot more about how that works. But anyway, if you guys have questions on your project, please, again, either contact me through Remind or send me an email. And then starting next week, we are going to go back and finish up our study of ecology. I'm working on a really fun end of the year project for you guys to do. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.